Namaste. Today I'm going to talk about a very important principle, the difference between the mindset of the business people and the mindset of the working people. First, the business is driven by profits and customers. If you are a businessman, you will always be interested in knowing how to make the profit, whether it is the right thing about the customers. Now, this will be the two main focus in the business, whether you're going to make money with the customers and whether it's going to be profitable. In terms of work, you have a huge problem because people try to satisfy their boss. People try to satisfy their colleagues. They are not very much interested in profit. They are driven by roles and they are not driven by the profit. So the first most important thing is the mindset of the businessman and the mindset of the working people. The mindset of the businessman is always driven by profits and customers. The second thing is of the businessman is no profit is useless. Whether it is a minimal profit or a maximal profit, as long as it is profitable, it is okay. But for people who are working, they have a huge problem of not being worried about the profit. What they are all the time worried is whether they will get their salary, whether they will get their payment, whether they will be able to get satisfied. So the businessman has a mindset. He always has a basic mindset: what I can do to the customer to enhance his experience, what I can do to make the customer to give me more money. The working people always thinks, what do I get out of this situation? What do I gain out of this situation? They do not think in terms of contribution. They think in terms of getting more money. That is all they think about it. So these are some of the basic variation. The other most important thing is, now if you are a businessman, you will have to take hard decisions. For example, if a particular project or a particular issue is not going well, then you will need to take on with the hard decision. But when you are working with people, you don't need to take a decision. The decision will be taken by your managers, the decision will be taken by your profit heads, the decision will be taken by your general manager. So the first most important thing is, in business you will be willing to take hard decision. The main reason is, if they are not going to take a hard decision, you're going to bleed, you're going to lose money, you're going to get into all kinds of problem. So the first most important thing in business is the attitude of facing the truth and taking tough decision. Suppose an employee is not willing to participate with you, if you find a vendor is not up to the mark and expectation, you take a strong decision whether to continue the relationship, whether to let go of the relationship. These kind of strong decisions which needs to be taken with the people, then only you can survive as a businessman. Now, when you're working, you don't need to take a decision at all because the decision is taken by somebody across. The other most important thing is, now you have to accept failures and move on. You cannot be worried about the spilt milk as far as the business is concerned. If you lose money in a project, if you lose money with the people, if you lose certain things, you accept the failures and move on. Now, this is an attitude which is not there in the working people. They tend to blame others, they tend to find fault with others. They do not say, yes, I am responsible, I did a mistake here, the buck stops with me, as a thing they don't want to do, because they fear if they do it, they will lose their job, they will lose their respect, they will lose their increment. So in working condition, it is always like playing to protecting the turf, whereas in business, it is not about playing to protect your turf. You have to accept your failures and move on, because tomorrow is another day. tomorrow is another time, and you should be willing to move on in your life. You cannot get stuck up in business. You cannot talk about the spilt milk or the spoiled opportunity or the unknown opportunity. This is the biggest problem in that. The other one is in business. Now there are no holidays. There is no Saturday, Sunday. There is no Monday, Tuesday. You work, you enjoy working, you continue to make profit across. But whereas in business, whereas in work, you want to use your Republic Day, you want to be Saturday and Sunday off, you want to have the Friday fever, you have the Monday morning morose. A lot of people are not happy going to work. They feel the work is monotonous, the work is kind of stress driven, and they are not willing to be happy with the work. So the main business attitude is either it is a Sunday or a Saturday, it does not really matter. You will go there and do the work. And the other one is in business, you borrow money, you invest in the money, and you try to make profit of it. That is why many big businessmen, they try to borrow the money, they invest the money, they call it as nurturing the money. It's like a plant. You try to help to put the plant to grow up as a better thing. So in that sense, you want the business to grow better as a person. Therefore, it is very, very important that you develop this attitude in the business. Business is about borrowing money, investing money, and seeing the profit. In working, you don't think of borrowing the money because you feel it's too risky. At the most, you want to borrow money for the house or for the vehicle across a person. So this is also a different kind of mindset when it comes to business and when it comes to work. The other most important thing is, now in business, you should be willing to change. As the market changes, you should be willing to change a lot. Now, many people find it very difficult in the working atmosphere to change their role, to change their definition, to change their doing things across. The problem is business is subject to change. Like 10 years ago, you were not using cell phone so much. Today we use cell phone a lot. 5 years ago, we were still using draft and check. We don't use it anymore. So business is a series of small changes which happens in your life. Now, when you look at 10 years down the line, there is a lot of change in the thing happening. In the working atmosphere, there is no such thing as major changes unless the company asks you to change. Actually, in working, it is actually reverse. They ask you to stick on to a protocol. They ask you to stick on to a certain things. They ask you to go on repeating the protocol again and again. So the problem with this entire thing is when you're working, you cannot change so much. In business, you'll have to try innovative ideas. You need to try new things across into your life. The other most important attitude in terms of business is using the technology. You will use technology to solve the problem. You will use technology to connect with your customers, market with your customers. You will use technology to get money from the customers. All these things are possible when you do the business. But whereas when you work for some people, now you need not use the technology unless and until it is required in a major manner. So the